Alright, so this is going to be about the two main types of narcissists and how to recognize it. Because there's two main types. There's the covert narcissist that is kind of secretive about their feelings, and they're harder to detect sometimes. And these are people that kind of try to come off as humble and everything, and really they're not. They're doing the same thing the overt narcissist is doing, which is operating from a point of shame, but it's just they've gone in a different direction. So we're going to go over the covert qualities. And I made a list here because there's like a lot of different things, but I made some notes. So these people, they have a lot of instability in their lives, like because they're not sure of themselves. They can't settle on things or make decisions well, and there's not a lot of stability in their thinking or knowing what they want to do with their life or whatever, because their confidence is such that they just can't settle. There's no foundation there. They're just like, things change here and there. They can't devote to anything. They may or may not have like hobbies that they can keep doing for a long time or anything like that. They don't have like long-term commitments and stuff like that. They have a general dislike for themselves. Like they're just not pleased with themselves, and that's when they try to seem humble or seem like they're real down to earth, or seem like they don't think too highly of themselves, for fear of turning people off or whatever from being their friends and stuff like that. They don't keep long-term relationships. They're always like switching, from person to person. That goes along with the lack of stability, which also goes along with like lack of identity too. Because if you're not sure about your identity and things like that, things are going to switch up for you a lot, because you don't have like an anchor. Do you know what I mean? Or you don't have anything that's like, you don't have anything to gauge. You don't have like a center point that you can come back to know who you are and stuff like that, and that leaks out into other parts of your life. They don't like authority figures, because they don't like being pushed around. Well, that's a lot of us, but not knowing who they are gets in the way of trusting outside influences. So that, like an authority person or somebody who's there to kind of tell them what to do, They can be materialistic. They may not want to fit into social strictures and social norms and mores, like stuff that's acceptable in conversation or laws, or depending on what their culture is, whether or not they want to follow the rules and stuff like that. They may not want to fit in with all that kind of stuff. They can be shy. They can be moody. They're not, the big part here is that they're not manipulative, because they don't know how to do that. They have not tapped it. That's a power that they haven't tapped into, a power source that they're not aware of. They don't know how to manipulate or say the right things to get you reeled in and get you to do what they want. Because they lack confidence, they try to hide their true feelings because they're so ashamed of themselves. Like, they might be ashamed that they didn't get enough attention as a child, so they'll be ashamed of that, and they won't know how to present themselves to people, and they don't know how to be around people, so that leads to the shyness. And because they're so unsure of themselves, they're unsure of putting themselves out there and showing who they are, because they have issues with what that means and who that is. Their super ego, or their inner voice, is cruel. Like they say, like they have cruel or sad or hurtful thoughts about themselves. Like they're really hard on themselves, and they don't get much of a break from that. It's a constant, you're not good enough, you need to do better, why did you mess that up, you need to fix this, you need to, and it's just shit like that. It's ongoing for them, which can lead to the moodiness. Of course, they feel inadequate. And to them, they have so many limitations within them, like, you know, so many shortcomings in their capabilities and their capacity and things like that, you know, because they have such bad feelings about themselves like that, they really stress over that. It's not, you know, they can't get, that's a hurdle they can't get past. And they do the fake modesty thing, you know, where they try to sound humble and they try to sound like, you know, they're just happy to be here when really they're just raging inside, you know what I mean? Yeah. And they try to stay out of the limelight because, like I say, because of the shyness and the insecurity about their identity and who they are, and insecurity about their strengths and capabilities and things like that. They're so unsure of all of those things, all those inner workings, that they'd rather not bring attention to themselves. So that's the kind of a narcissist. You can run into people like that. It's common enough, you know, that it can be noticeable, but it's been my experience that I haven't run into this type as much as I've seen the overt type. Another thing they'll do, the covert one, and covert means hidden or secretive for anyone who doesn't know, just like a secret. Like when somebody says they're doing a covert mission, it's a secret thing, right? Secret mission. So they feel jealousy and envy for people who they think are doing better than them or have more than them or whatever. Disregard for other people's attention or time, like they just don't have any respect, you know, for the shit you need to do or your efforts to try to help them or be kind to them or whatever. They can't connect with that, like they can't relate to it. They may seem like they have a lot of interest, but they'll be superficial or not deep, you know, like they'll have knowledge like trivia, or they'll seem like they have a lot of knowledge about a lot of different things, like across the board. They'll try to like cover everything, you know what I mean? This is somebody who might be trying to seem like they know a little bit of everything, but if you get one-on-one with them, if you get them alone in a room and it's just you and that person, and you start asking them real questions, or God forbid you get them alone with somebody who really does know their shit, and that person starts asking questions about a particular topic that the covert narcissist has really bragged about, and all of a sudden they start stumbling because they actually don't know what they're talking about. But they haven't been caught in the same room with an expert yet. That's what it is. They haven't been caught red-handed yet. There was another note that was really good. They don't, right, and they're jealous, especially of people's possessions or talents, or like natural things that they're good at, you know, because they think the covert narcissist thinks that they're not good at anything, and that they're a screw up. So when they see somebody who's like a natural at something like dance or learning foreign languages, or, you know, a math whiz or whatever, not, you know, things that people are, you know, can be seen to do naturally, they're just naturally good at from the get-go. They can't stand that kind of thing because they think it's something they don't have. So there's so much shame and so much embarrassment and humiliation that they're coming from on the inside. That's their gauge, is that humiliation of not being good enough, and never being up to par, and never being what the world needs or wants, or, you know, something the world could use, you know what I mean? And for that reason, they may not be goal-oriented, because they just figure, you know, what's the point? And because they have such a lack of identity, there's no anchor in there. So they can't latch onto something because they don't have a point of reference that they're coming from. You know what I mean? They can't look at themselves and be like, well, I know I'm good at this. I can kind of do this. Maybe I could go in this direction and build on that, and maybe have that goal and reach that goal in a year or something like that, and, like, you know, be a master at it or something like that. Whatever. They don't have that. Okay, here was the one. Okay, so switches values to gain favor. So what that means is, and this can be, I've seen this in the wounded feminine as well. And I'm going to be going deeper into that lately because it's got to be said. And what that means is, for example, and women who have done this, and I would go so far as to say at least half of us, if not most women, have done this. And it's not because they just want to be evil bitches who are going to take over the world. It's not that. They do this because they are so afraid that if they don't have everybody on their side, at any given moment, that things will fall apart for them, and they won't be able to get help when they need it, and they won't survive. Women, especially women who live in fear, are looking for allies wherever they can find them, wherever they can get them, and because we're so afraid we won't survive if we don't have enough people on our side. So when you see people who, women especially, who are having a conversation with somebody, and that person will express their values or their beliefs or what have you, and the woman's going to say, yeah, I can see that, I agree with you there, that's true, yeah, I'm with you on that, I'm with you 100% on that, yeah. And then that person walks away, and the conversation's over with. And let's say later that day, she's talking to somebody else that has totally different, damned opposing views on the same topic. And it's just her and that one person talking. She might say, oh yeah, that's totally true. I totally agree with you on that. And so-and-so said something to me earlier today about that, and I just didn't get that because that doesn't make any damn sense because blah, 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 blah. But I could totally see where you're coming from. You make so much more sense. I'm so glad we had this conversation. And it's total bullshit because the person who's saying all that doesn't believe in either shit. They're just saying that. You know what I mean? They're just saying it to gain favor and to get you to be friends with them and get close to them and to gain trust and gain connection and shit like that, because there's just no inner stability. There's no inner stability. And there's no confidence there. And for example, in contrast, a truly confident person would not need to do that because they don't have to make fake friends they don't have to be fake friends with any damn body. They don't need that because they know who the hell they are. They know what their values are no matter what, no matter who they're talking to. They know what they believe. They know what they want in life. They know their desires. They know their fears. And they understand that, and they've made peace with that. And it doesn't matter who they're talking to. That's not going to change. So somebody who's already sure about it, sorry, I shed a lot of hair. Someone who's already sure of themselves like that doesn't have to change what the fuck they say every time they're talking to a different person. I believe the same shit in my mind and inside myself. I believe the same things in general, no matter who I'm having a conversation with. My values and my beliefs and my story is not going to change if I'm talking to somebody different the next day. That's madness. But someone who has no inner anchor and has no sense of direction and no moral compass and no idea of who they are or what their worth is or anything like that is going to be, just do whatever it takes to attach to the person in the moment. And that's where you get the switching values to gain favor. It's just anything goes in the moment, whatever it is, whoever's next in power. Let's say they're at work and they make they do buddy with the manager. And then let's say that person might pretend to share the manager's views on a certain thing or whatever. It might be something personal even. And something happens and that manager changes a job or gets fired or something and they're gone. And then it's replaced with somebody new. So the new manager has totally different views, totally different story, totally different outlook, totally different way of managing, totally different everything. And that same covert narcissist is going to get buddy with that new manager and say, oh yeah, I believe that 100%. You're so fucking right. You're so fucking right. The last manager said blah, 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 blah. And I don't know what the fuck she was talking about for real. You make so much more sense. That shit, if you ever witness somebody doing some shit like that, for God's sake, stay away. Or at least, if it's somebody you work with or whatever, or someone, or you live with them, or you're stuck with them somehow, just keep it at a minimum. Keep it at a minimum, because that person, they know what they're doing. If they ever get confronted by you or anyone else, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. just don't listen to that shit. They're 9 times out of 10, they probably know what they're doing. They probably know what they're doing. And they're not, the outside, the way it looks on the outside is conniving and manipulative and things like that, but that's not it, because they don't really know the ins and outs of manipulation that well. They just know how to be a people pleaser, and that's to get attention and acceptance. And I think that's what that's really coming from, because that's trying to cover up the shame. So when they get confronted, they'll say, oh, I'm not sure what you're talking about, blah, 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 whatever the fuck. And you just ignore it. Just do yourself a favor and stay out of it, because it's not going to change. They're, you know, it's highly likely they're probably not going to go get help, because every narcissist thinks that, you know, there's nothing wrong with them and that they're great, unless they somehow by some miracle been to therapy and like accepted that they have an issue, which can happen. Like, there was one guy I follow on TikTok, I forgot his name on there, but I can see his face in my mind, and he knows that he is a narcissist, but he's actually gotten help for it and has really good ass tips and stuff if you want to follow him. I'm gonna find out what his name is. If I remember to, I'll put his link in the description below. But yeah, he's like the only person I've seen so far that actually knows something's up with him. But he's actually working on doing better, and he educates people on it like hell. He's just really good, really good. So but that's the main. Those are the main points. They also do weird things, like they have no regard for family relations, children, old people, stuff like that. They because they can't relate, and they can't foster a genuine closeness with anybody. They can't relate, so there's a lot of shit they don't care about. You know, you could probably show them, you know, footage from a slaughterhouse or something, and they would just be like, oh, well, you know, sucks to be a cow or whatever, and just not, you know what I mean? Shit like that. And they imagine themselves being a failure a lot of the time, and that adds pressure to them, and it adds pressure to their situation, which is what drives them to do all the crazy shit they do, you know what I mean? And all the deception, but like I say, mainly the issue is because of that shame that they're built on, that they can't get over. They have such a shaky foundation within themselves about who they are, and somebody that's unsure about who they are, I mean, their plate is full. Their plate is full. They seem like a pain in the ass, and they probably are. Narcissists or not, anybody who is unsure of their identity, that's, you know, that feels like a hassle, because that's somebody who has no idea what they're working with when they're working with themselves, and that's a lot of work. That's a lot of inner work. So, but for the covert narcissist especially, you know, the shyness and the superficiality and shit like that, once you're around them enough and you see like the fake humbleness and things like that, and the weird, you know, like trivia knowledge, and you know, everybody's known somebody that had like some of those traits. To meet someone who's like full-blown covert narcissist is not too terribly common, but to see people that at least have some of those traits, and there are people that can have some of those traits and be going in that direction, like start falling into that category without being, you know, hardcore all the way, checks everything on the list. But anyway, so that's covert narcissists. And they are not, I don't think they're as common. I could be wrong, but at least I haven't run into that many people like that. But either way, that both types run on shame. That's their fuel. So that's it for that video. Just wanted to make that kind of quick, and make that clear for y'all. So that's covert narcissists, and thanks for watching.